Have you ever laid awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering why life turned out this way? Why someone else got the praise while you gave everything you had in silence? Why the liar was believed and you were left defending a truth no one seemed to want? Why the world, for all its beauty, can still feel so deeply unfair? If you felt this, you're not alone. There's a quiet pain that visits many of us as we grow older. Not the sharp pain of youth, wild and fiery, but something gentler, deeper, and harder to name. It comes when you've done your best, and the world still chooses someone else. It comes when your voice wasn't heard, your heart wasn't seen, your truth wasn't welcomed. But what if, just for tonight, you didn't have to fix anything? What if you didn't have to understand why they did what they did, or make peace with it on their terms? What if all you had to do was breathe? This isn't a podcast about justice. It's not a how-to guide for fighting back, and it won't tell you to smile through the pain. This is a quiet place, a still place, where your tired spirit can rest, where you can exhale, and slowly, gently, find your way back to yourself. Over the next 3 hours, I'll walk with you, not as a teacher, not as someone who knows better, but as a friend, sitting beside you in the dark. Together, we'll explore how the ancient wisdom of Zen can offer not answers, but openings, not closure, but calm, not justice, but freedom. So tonight, let the past rest. Let the anger soften. Let the breath slow. You're safe here. Let us begin. Part 1. The Whisper of Injustice. The night is quiet now, but your mind isn't. It replays the moment again and again. The voice, the look, the subtle shift in the room when your name wasn't spoken, when your effort was quietly erased. You didn't ask for much, just to be seen, to be heard, to be treated fairly. But life, in that moment, didn't agree. Someone took credit for your work. Someone twisted your words. Someone you trusted didn't stand up for you. And now, here you are, lying awake, long after the world has gone to sleep, rehearsing the argument you'll never say out loud, writing letters in your head that no one will ever read. And under all of it is a whisper. It's not fair. You don't have to run from that whisper here. You don't have to silence it or explain it away. You don't have to wrap it in positive thinking or force forgiveness. You're allowed to feel what you feel. You're allowed to name the hurt, to breathe into it, to stay. But there's something else you're allowed to do too. You're allowed to see the suffering, not as a curse, but as a doorway, a quiet opening into yourself. Zen does not promise you fairness. It promises you presence. It doesn't erase the world's sharp edges. It teaches you how not to bleed every time you're cut. It doesn't make injustice disappear, but it offers a lantern to carry as you walk through it. A lantern made of stillness, of breath, of deep, unshakable peace. Let us hold that lantern now. Take a moment. Close your eyes if you feel safe. Feel the air around you, cool, still. Feel the weight of your body on the bed, on the chair, on the earth. Feel the tension wherever it hides, in the chest, the jaw, the hands. Don't force it to go, just notice it's there. And now, let's take a breath together. In, slowly, gently. And out, like a sigh you've held too long. Again, in, out. One more time. In, and let go. The moment that hurt you may have passed hours ago, days ago, years ago. But your body remembers. Your nervous system still clenches when the memory knocks. That's okay. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not weak. You are not too sensitive. You are human, and beautifully so. What you're feeling now is not just about them, it's also about you, and your deep longing to live in a world that is kind and clear and true. Zen doesn't ask you to give up that longing. It asks you to meet it with compassion. Let's return to that moment, just briefly. The injustice, the dismissal, the lie, the betrayal. Look at it again from a soft distance. Can you see how quickly your body reacted? How your mind started spinning, fast, loud, sharp? That's natural. The brain is wired to protect, to defend, to fight or flee. But in that rush of reaction, something else got pushed aside. Your peace. That's what Zen invites you to reclaim. Not the outcome, not the victory, not the apology you may never receive, but the one thing no one can take from you unless you hand it over. Your peace. Injustice hurts. Let's not pretend otherwise. But what if we stop asking the pain to make sense? What if we stop demanding that the world behave the way we hoped? What if we just breathe and stay close to what is? The tightness in the chest, the lump in the throat, the memory playing like a film behind your closed eyes. All of it is welcome here. None of it needs to be judged. It is simply what is. And the moment we stop resisting, we begin to heal. Zen doesn't offer quick answers. It offers deep invitations. To slow down, to observe, to stay when everything inside wants to run, to befriend the silence, to bow to the pain, and to listen for the teaching buried inside what you thought was only suffering. So tonight, as we begin this journey together, you don't need to fix the injustice. You don't need to win the argument. You don't need to pretend you're okay. All you need is to breathe, to listen, and to let these words hold you like a blanket, soft, steady, and still. Because beneath the noise of the world, beneath the swirl of emotion, beneath even the sharp sting of betrayal, there is something in you that cannot be broken. A quiet core, a sacred stillness, a center that no injustice can touch. This is where your healing begins. Not by fighting harder, but by falling quieter into the truth of who you are. Now rest, dear listener. Let the breath flow. Let the night hold you. Let the whisper of injustice fade into the background. And let us walk together, gently, into the next part of your journey. Part 2. The Mirror of Reaction. You were calm until you weren't. Maybe it was a word, a tone, a dismissal wrapped in politeness. Or maybe it was loud, undeniable, a betrayal so clear you couldn't ignore it. And then something inside you moved, like a match striking dry bark, flame, fast, hot, anger, defensiveness, the impulse to argue, to prove, to push back. You didn't ask for it. You didn't plan it. But suddenly, you weren't in the moment anymore. You were in the reaction. This is where Zen invites us to pause, not to judge, not to suppress, but to notice. Because the reaction is not the problem. It's the place where the truth begins to show. Not the truth of who they are, but the truth of where you are. When injustice hits, the body remembers every hurt you've ever carried. Not just today's pain, but old wounds buried deep, a childhood memory, a friendship broken, a parent's silence, a time you felt small, invisible, powerless. These fragments stir beneath the surface and rise. The present moment becomes stained with the past, and your reaction, sudden, overwhelming, isn't just about this moment. It's about every moment your dignity wasn't seen. You're not broken, you're human. And your reaction is not something to fight. It's something to meet. Like a child crying in the corner, your anger, your pain, your confusion, they want to be held, not silenced. So the Zen way is not to scold the reaction. It's to sit beside it, to say gently, I see you, to ask softly, what are you trying to protect? Let's imagine it together, shall we? You feel the reaction rise, heat in the face, tightness in the jaw, thoughts racing like wild horses. They can't do this. I don't deserve this. This always happens. Now, pause. Take one step inward, not toward the other person, but toward yourself. Feel the pulse, the breath, the subtle contraction of the heart. You are witnessing yourself, not as a judge, not as an enemy, but as a compassionate observer. This is the first Zen mirror. The mirror does not blame, it simply shows. You look, and you see the story you're telling, the fear underneath, the old belief rearing its head again. I am not enough. And you breathe. One breath, then another. The flames begin to cool, not because the injustice disappeared, but because you are no longer feeding it with fuel. You're watching instead of burning. In this space, something magical begins. A space opens between the stimulus and the response, and in that space is freedom. You may still choose to speak, to set a boundary, to act, but now it comes from clarity, not reactivity, from groundedness, not panic, from choice, not compulsion. There's a saying in Zen, the obstacle is the path. Not because pain is noble, not because we should seek suffering, but because every challenge reveals something within us, if we're willing to look. That's the mirror. Injustice shows you how quickly you lose your center, so you can find it again. Pain reveals the edges of your identity, so you can soften them. Your reaction becomes your teacher, if you can bow to it instead of fight it. Let's practice right here. Bring to mind the last moment that triggered you, big or small. Let it appear. Now, feel your body. Where does the reaction live? The shoulders, the stomach, the hands. Let yourself breathe into that space. Don't force it away. Just be with it, like a friend, like a witness, like a warm hand placed gently on your own. Now, see what happens. When you stop fueling the storm, it begins to settle. When you stop judging the fire, you realize it was calling for warmth all along. Reaction becomes reflection, and from that reflection, a deeper wisdom can emerge. There is no shame in feeling deeply, no weakness in being affected. But you don't have to live at the mercy of the reaction. You don't have to become the anger, the fear, the despair. You can sit beside it. You can breathe through it. You can let it teach you and then pass, like a cloud across the sky. Because what you truly are is not the cloud, not the storm, not the flicker of fire. You are the sky itself, open, still, vast, unshaken. The world may not change. People may still act unfairly. Pain may still knock at your door. But the way you meet it, that is in your hands. And the mirror you hold can become your medicine. It doesn't promise revenge. It doesn't chase closure. It simply says, I choose to see and I choose to stay free. So rest now. You've looked into the mirror tonight, and you did not look away. That is courage. That is practice. That is the beginning of liberation. Let the breath slow. Let the body soften. Let the mind know you are no longer in danger. You are here. You are whole. And the peace you seek is already within. Part 3. Impermanence. Nothing stays. It feels like it will never end. The hurt, the injustice, the gnawing sense that something was taken from you and you'll never get it back. Your name unspoken. Your truth denied. Your kindness unanswered. And in the quiet aftermath, a heaviness settles in your chest, as if it will stay forever. But here is the secret Zen whispers. Nothing stays. Not the joy, not the sorrow, not even this pain. Everything, every breath, every thought, every wound is passing. Impermanence is not a curse. It is a kindness in disguise. Because what feels unbearable now will change, will soften, will dissolve. Just as every wave returns to the sea, every moment eventually returns to silence. And in that silence, you are free. Let's look closer together. Bring your awareness to your breath. You don't have to control it. Just notice. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. And then it's gone. That breath will never come again. It has served its purpose. And the next one comes, fresh, new, untouched. This is impermanence. Every breath, a letting go. Now think of a moment from your past, a time when you felt broken, when someone wronged you, and the world felt heavy, cruel, unfixable. Go there, just for a moment. Now, notice. You are no longer inside that pain. It may echo, it may still shape you, but you are no longer trapped in it. Why? Because even that passed. The anger didn't last. The wound didn't stay open. Time moved, life shifted, and so did you. This is not forgetting. This is transformation. So what makes this moment different? Why does this particular injustice feel like it might last forever? Because the mind resists impermanence. It wants stability. It wants resolution. It wants the wrong to be righted, the imbalance to be corrected. But life is not a courtroom. It is a river. And the more we try to hold still in its current, the more we suffer. Zen teaches, the only thing that does not change is the fact that everything changes. Let that truth settle into your body, into your bones, into the clenched places of your heart. You are not meant to stay stuck, not in the bitterness, not in the sadness, not even in the craving for justice. Because clinging, even to what's right, creates its own kind of prison. So how do we loosen our grip? How do we begin to trust impermanence, even when life feels unfair? Start here. Place your hand over your heart, gently, tenderly. Feel the rhythm, the steady beat. Now whisper to yourself, soft but true. This too shall pass. Again, this too shall pass. Feel it, not just as words, but as a knowing. Nothing you feel now is permanent. Not the humiliation, not the confusion, not even the story you're telling about what happened. Everything is moving. Everything is changing, including you. You are not the same person you were yesterday, or the day before. And tomorrow, you'll be someone new again. The pain you carry now is already softening. As you breathe, as you listen, as you allow space for healing. You don't have to rush it. You don't have to fix it. You just have to stay. Stay present. Stay kind. Stay open. And let time do what it does best: transform. There is a kind of peace that comes from knowing you don't have to hold it all forever. You can feel it now, deep in your chest, like a loosening, a quiet unwinding. Your body exhaling, your soul unfolding. This is what it means to be free without needing everything to be fair. To rest, not in resolution, but in reality. A reality that is ever-changing, ever-flowing, and utterly unconcerned with fairness, but deeply devoted to balance. Nature doesn't punish, it restores. Not always in ways we understand, not always on the timelines we prefer, but always, inevitably, it returns to harmony. And so will you. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Because you let go of the need to clutch and open to the truth. This will not last. Now, before we close tonight, let me offer you a story. There once was a Zen monk who lived alone in the mountains. He was quiet, gentle, unknown to the world. One day, a terrible rumor spread in the nearby village. They said he had fathered a child, a shameful, baseless lie. The villagers were angry. They stormed up the mountain, yelling, accusing, pointing fingers. And the monk simply bowed his head and said, "Is that so?" He took in the child, raised it with love. Years passed. The truth came out. The real father confessed. The villagers returned, full of guilt and apology. The monk bowed again and said, "Is that so?" He was not indifferent. He simply knew. Nothing stays. And in that knowing, he found a peace deeper than justice, a silence stronger than reputation. So now, as you lie here, softened by breath, held by silence, may you remember, this too shall pass. The wound will not define you. The pain will not own you. The moment will not stay. And who you are becoming is greater than what you have lost. Let go now. Let the breath carry it away. Let the night hold you. You are safe. You are changing. You are healing. Nothing stays, and that is the greatest gift of all. Part 4. When the world feels wrong. You did everything right. You showed up on time. You gave more than you were asked. You chose kindness when it was easier to be cold. You stayed silent when you could have struck back. You loved honestly. You gave freely. And still, they chose someone else. Still, you were overlooked, misunderstood, pushed aside. You sit there, breath held, asking the question that aches. Why? Why does the liar succeed? Why does cruelty go unpunished? Why do the greedy climb higher, while the humble go unnoticed? It feels like the world is broken, like the scales of justice were never balanced to begin with. And maybe, just maybe, you've started to wonder, what's the point of doing good if good doesn't always come back? These are hard questions, sacred questions, questions Zen doesn't run from. Because Zen does not pretend. Zen does not sugarcoat the world. Zen sits down right in the middle of the mess and says, yes, this too is part of life. There's a story. A student once asked his Zen master, why do the good suffer while the wicked flourish? The master poured him a cup of tea. Then, without a word, he tilted the teapot too far. The tea overflowed, spilling over the table, soaking the floor. The student jumped back. Master, what are you doing? The teacher smiled gently and said, "When your cup overflows, what spills out is what you carry inside." The world may tip, the unjust may pour out, but the real question is, what is in your cup? Because if your peace depends on the behavior of others, on the fairness of systems, on the praise of people, then your peace will always be at risk. But if what you carry inside is steady, clear, grounded, then even when the world spills over, you do not. Let's come back to breath for a moment. You've heard it in every part so far. But here, let it go deeper. Inhale. Softly. Exhale. Like a sigh you've waited decades to release. Again. In. Out. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw loosen. Let your heart unclench. Now feel this truth settle in. The world is not always fair, but you can be free. The two are not the same. Fairness is external. Freedom is internal. Fairness depends on others. Freedom belongs to you. Fairness comes and goes. But freedom, real, quiet, anchored freedom, comes when you stop needing fairness to feel at peace. This is not giving up. This is waking up. Waking up to the truth that life is not transactional, that goodness is not a currency, that virtue is not a bargaining chip. You are not good to get something. You are good because that is who you choose to be. Because your inner world, your soul, has chosen clarity over chaos, stillness over spite, truth over triumph. In the West, we are taught to believe in fairness like a religion. If I do the right thing, I will be rewarded. But life does not always obey our formulas. Zen invites us to release the deal we never consciously signed, to give without expecting, to love without demanding, to act with integrity, not because it's fair, but because it is freeing. You are not weak because you hurt. You are not foolish because you trusted. You are not naive because you believed in goodness. You are simply alive. And the world, as messy, unjust, and unpredictable as it is still the place where your awakening can happen. Because it's often in the most unfair moments that we grow the deepest roots, that we find the clearest truths, that we become unshakable. Take a moment now. Think of one time when something unfair taught you something essential. Maybe it was betrayal that taught you discernment. Maybe it was loss that taught you presence. Maybe it was silence that taught you your own voice. Let that memory surface, not to relive the pain, but to honor what it revealed in you. You are not here despite the unfairness. You are here because of what it carved out inside you. The cracks in the surface let the light in. And sometimes the world breaks you just enough for the soul to shine through. So no, life is not always fair, but it is always offering you something, always inviting you to return again and again to the calm beneath the chaos, to the stillness within the storm, to the part of you that no injustice can touch. Let me offer you a final thought for tonight. A Zen monk once said, "When I understand that the cup is already broken, I drink from it with joy." He did not mean we should celebrate loss. He meant when we accept imperfection, we are no longer surprised by it. We stop gripping so tightly. We stop needing everything to be fair. And we start living fully, freely, now. Not in the perfect world we wish for, but in this one, this moment, this breath. So rest now, dear friend. Let go of the weight of fairness. Let go of the ache of should. Let go of the courtroom in your mind. You are not here to win. You are here to wake up. And in the stillness of your breath, in the softness of your body, you are already free. The world may feel wrong, but you are on the path back to what is deeply, unshakably right, your own peace. Part 5. The stillness beneath it all. Before the words, before the stories, before the wound, there was silence. Do you remember it? Not the silence of loneliness or punishment or isolation, but the silence that held you as a child when you fell asleep in your mother's arms. The silence between the waves at the shore. The silence of a room lit only by morning light. That silence is still here. It has not left. It has only been forgotten. When injustice strikes, we scramble for answers, for justice, for repair. We tell ourselves we must act, we must fix, we must do. And sometimes, yes, we must. But more often than not, the true medicine is not action, but stillness. Because beneath every storm, the ocean remains still. Let's go there together now. You don't need to do anything. Just listen. Let your body grow heavy. Let your mind unclench. Let your thoughts pass like birds across the evening sky. You are not your thoughts. You are not your judgments. You are not your fears. You are the one who sees, and the one who sees is still. Imagine a pond, still, untouched, its surface like glass. A stone is thrown, splash. Ripples, yes. Disturbance, yes. But only for a while. Eventually, the surface settles. The reflection returns. So it is with you. The stone of injustice may hit the surface. But you are not just the surface. You are the depth. And in your depths, there is stillness. Zen asks us not to react, not immediately, not automatically. It asks us to wait, to breathe, to return to the pond before the splash. Because in stillness, we see clearly, and what we see may surprise us. Maybe the person who hurt you was hurting themselves. Maybe the truth is more complex than you imagined. Maybe there's no villain, only fear dressed in different costumes. But we can only see this when the water is still. We can only forgive when the heart is quiet. We can only free ourselves when we stop shouting at the world long enough to hear our own breath. So, what is this stillness? It is not nothingness. It is not numbness, or avoidance, or indifference. It is presence, vivid, alive, attentive presence. It is sitting with what is, without flinching, without rushing to name or fix. It is letting the moment unfold, without trying to bend it to your will. And in this stillness, something opens, a clarity, a wisdom, a compassion that wasn't there before. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped forcing everything else. You became quiet, and in that quiet, the truth could speak. Let's go even deeper now. Let's sit, just you and I, in the silence together. Let my words fall away for a moment. Let the space between them widen. No need to follow the thoughts. No need to judge the mind. Just sit and breathe. In, out, again. Like waves, like prayer, like the ancient rhythm that held you long before the injustice ever arrived. You are safe now. You are whole, even with the scar, especially with the scar. Stillness does not erase what happened. It just refuses to let it define you. It whispers, yes, that happened, and yes, I am still here. There's a teaching in Zen. Sitting silently, doing nothing, spring comes, and the grass grows by itself. You don't have to make yourself heal. You don't have to force peace. You only have to stop interfering with it. Peace is your natural state. Stillness is who you were before the world told you otherwise. And the more you return to it, the more you remember. You do not need to win. You do not need to be right. You only need to be present. And from that presence comes power. The kind of power that doesn't need to shout or prove or punish. The power of groundedness. The power of grace. The power of the person who knows they cannot be shaken by what others fail to see. So now, as the night deepens and the breath softens, let us end this part not with words, but with silence, a healing silence. Let it wash over you like warm rain. Let it settle in your bones. Let it wrap around your heart like a gentle hand. The world may still spin. Others may still misunderstand. But you have touched the stillness beneath it all. And that changes everything. Part 6. Letting go of the why. Why did this happen to me? Why now? Why them? Why me? It's the question that sits like a stone in the chest. The question that spins through your mind late at night when the world has gone quiet, but your heart refuses to sleep. You keep turning the moment over like a puzzle with a missing piece, hoping that one more glance might finally make it fit. But what if the piece isn't missing? What if the puzzle was never meant to be solved? The mind longs for explanation. It wants to categorize, to label, to control. This happened because I deserved it. This happened because they're cruel. This happened because life is unfair. This happened because I was too trusting, too naive, too kind. But behind every answer waits another question. And every answer leads to another room inside the house of suffering. What if you could step outside? Not because you gave up, but because you finally saw that no explanation would bring you peace, that no why would change what happened, that even if someone whispered the truth in your ear, the full story, the secret reason, you might still feel just as hurt. Because the wound is not in the reason. The wound is in the impact. And healing does not come from understanding the cause. It comes from allowing the heart to release. Zen teaches us that not knowing is not weakness. It is freedom. The great Zen master Sung San called it don't know mind. A mind that doesn't grasp, that doesn't cling, that doesn't rush to fill the silence with theories. A mind that is open, spacious, soft, like a vast sky that doesn't ask the clouds why they form. There's a story from the Zen tradition. A young monk asks his teacher, "Master, why is there suffering in the world?" The teacher replies, "Do you hear the birds singing?" The monk pauses. "Yes." Then return to that. We want philosophy. The universe gives us birdsong. We want answers. The breath gives us silence. We want justice. The trees give us shade, regardless of who planted them. So let's practice. Bring to mind the injustice that lingers, the moment you can't explain, the thing that still doesn't make sense. Hold it in your mind like a stone, not to examine it, not to judge it, just to feel its weight. Now, Imagine placing that stone gently in a stream. Feel the water around your hands, cool, flowing, alive. You do not throw the stone, you do not bury it, you just place it down. Let the stream carry it. Let the flow begin to soften its edges. Let it become something that no longer lives in your pocket, but in the river of your life, moving, shifting, no longer yours to carry. You don't need to know why. You just need to know that you're no longer holding it so tightly, that you are allowed to not know, that "I don't understand" can be a sacred prayer, that "I don't know" can be the first true breath of peace. In the West, we're taught that knowing is power, that control equals safety, that if we just understand enough, we won't get hurt again. But Zen whispers a different truth. Let go of the need to understand, and you will begin to heal. Not because understanding is bad, but because it is not always available, and peace is still possible without it. Think of the moon reflected in a lake. Do you need to understand gravity, or optics, or astronomy to appreciate its glow? No. You just sit and receive and let it light you. Peace is like that. It doesn't arrive through logic. It arrives through presence. Through stopping the search long enough to feel what's already here. So tonight, can you stop asking why? Just for now, not forever, but just long enough to let your heart rest. Let your mind soften. Let your spirit breathe. Breathe without needing to solve. Breathe without needing to explain. Breathe without needing to be right or justified or understood. The person who hurt you may never explain. They may not even see what they did. The opportunity you lost may never return. The apology may never come. But your peace does not depend on any of it. Your peace begins the moment you stop chasing closure from the outside world and begin turning inward, where stillness lives, where breath lives, where you live, unbroken. Let me offer you a final reflection. Imagine sitting at the edge of a wide, quiet lake. The wind is soft. The water barely moves. A heron stands in the reeds, unmoving, unbothered. You are not thinking, you are not analyzing. You are simply here. No past, no future, no why. Only this, only now, only peace. So rest now. Let the questions sleep. Let the stories dissolve. Let the mind grow quiet. Tonight, you don't need to know. You only need to be. And in that being, something deeper than knowledge awakens. A wisdom that cannot be explained, only lived. Part 7. The story you tell yourself. Something happened. You were there. You felt it. You know it was real. And then, a story began. Maybe it started quietly. I didn't deserve that. They didn't even see me. Why does this always happen to me? Or maybe it was louder. They used me. They betrayed me. They're wrong, and I'm not going to forget it. And just like that, the moment became a memory. The memory became a story. And the story became a wall. We don't mean to build them, these walls made of words, but we do. Brick by brick, sentence by sentence. We replay the scenes. We quote what they said. We highlight the injustice. We underline the wound. We think we're remembering, but often we're reinforcing. We are not just recalling the pain, we are reaffirming the meaning we gave it. Zen invites us to pause that process, To ask not just what happened, but also what am I telling myself about what happened? Because between the event and the suffering is a space, and in that space lives the story. Let me offer you an image. Imagine a room. Inside that room is a table, and on the table sits a box. Inside the box is what happened. The facts, the words, the actions, the moment. Now, around the box, you've placed sticky notes, hundreds of them. This means I'm not good enough. This means people always leave. This means I can't trust anyone. This means I failed. Each note is part of the story. Each note is a conclusion, a meaning, a label. Now, what if we slowly, gently, removed one of them? Not because the pain wasn't real, but because the meaning may not be helping you anymore. Let's practice together now. Think of the moment, the hurt, the injustice, the thing that stayed with you. Now ask yourself, what am I telling myself this means about me? Really sit with that. What belief did you build from this? That you're weak, unlovable, powerless, invisible? Name it. Softly, honestly, without shame. And then breathe. In, out. Now ask, is this belief true, or is it just familiar? Because often, the stories we tell ourselves aren't born from the present moment. They're echoes. Echoes from childhood. Echoes from other wounds. Echoes from a world that didn't know how to love us clearly. But an echo is not the voice of truth. It is just repetition. And repetition can be broken. Here's a shift. Instead of saying, "This happened to me because I'm not worthy," what if you said, "This happened and I choose to grow from it"? Instead of saying, "I was betrayed because I trust too easily," what if you said, "I was betrayed and I still choose to keep my heart open"? You are not rewriting the facts. You are rewriting the narrative. You are reclaiming authorship. You are choosing to be the storyteller, not the victim. There's an old Zen saying, "The obstacle is the path." Not because it's fair, not because it's easy, but because once we see the obstacle clearly, without the fog of story, we stop running and we begin walking, step by step, into a life that is ours again. So, what story are you ready to change? Maybe it's the one that says you're not enough. Maybe it's the one that says you'll never heal. Maybe it's the one that says your peace depends on them apologizing. Let's loosen its grip, not by force, but by gentleness. By sitting beside the story and saying, "I see you. You tried to protect me, but I'm ready to rest now." Let's close tonight with a quiet exercise. Place your hand on your chest, feel the warmth there, and whisper this: "What happened is not who I am." Again, what happened is not who I am. And now, I am more than the story. I am the space that holds it. Breathe that in. Breathe that through. You are allowed to heal without full resolution. You are allowed to rewrite the story, even if the others involved never change. You are allowed to live as though peace is possible, because it is. It always has been. Not in the world outside you, but in the stillness within you, where no story can define you, and where the truth is always simple. You are here, you are breathing, you are becoming, and that is enough. Part 8, Seeds of Compassion. You've carried this long enough. The tightness, the ache, the weight of someone else's actions resting heavy on your chest. They hurt you. They misjudged you. They didn't see who you really were. And somewhere along the way, you began to carry not just the wound, but the resentment too. It crept in quietly, a coldness, a wall, a quiet voice whispering, "They don't deserve forgiveness." And maybe they don't. But what if forgiveness was never really for them? Zen doesn't ask you to pretend. It doesn't ask you to excuse, erase, or explain away what they did. It asks you to see clearly. Because the longer you hold the fire of resentment, the more it burns your own hands. The longer you drink the poison of bitterness, the more it sickens your own spirit. And the longer you keep your heart closed, the more you forget what it's like to feel free. So what if, instead of clinging to the wound, you began to plant a seed, not of approval, not of denial, but of compassion? Not for them at first, but for you. For the part of you that got hurt, that got small, that tried to stay kind in the face of cruelty, that kept breathing even when it felt like too much. You, the one who survived, the one who is still here, the one who is learning to love without condition, without permission, without needing the world to make sense first. Let's pause here. Place your hand gently over your heart. Close your eyes if it feels safe. Take a breath and whisper softly, silently, just for you. May I be free from suffering. May I be at peace. May I live with an open heart. Again, may I be free from suffering. May I be at peace. May I live with an open heart. This is compassion. This is metta. This is the beginning. You are not required to feel warmth toward those who harmed you, but you are invited to stop letting them live rent-free in your nervous system. You are allowed to reclaim your joy from the jaws of their injustice. And the bridge toward that freedom is compassion. Compassion doesn't say, "What you did was okay." It says, "I won't let what you did determine who I become." Now here's the paradox. As your heart opens toward yourself, it may begin in tiny, surprising ways to open toward others too, even them. You start to see they were operating from their own pain, their own delusion, their own fear. This doesn't make it right. It makes it human. And seeing their humanity doesn't mean condoning. It means stepping outside the cycle of suffering. It means refusing to carry their burden any longer. It means freedom. There's a story in the Zen tradition. A monk was beaten and robbed on the road. He survived, barely. He returned to the monastery, scarred but alive. Years later, he encountered the man who had attacked him, old, frail, broken. The monk bowed gently and said, "Thank you for being my teacher." The thief looked stunned. "What could I have possibly taught you?" The monk smiled. "You taught me that hatred imprisons the heart, and letting go opens it again. You don't need to rush to that place. You don't need to skip steps, but know this. Every time you choose not to dwell in hatred, you nourish the seed of compassion. Every time you breathe instead of blame, you water that seed. Every time you soften instead of shut down, you invite that seed to grow, and eventually, it becomes something strong enough to hold even your deepest wounds. Let's go deeper now. Think of someone you still hold pain around, someone who hurt you, someone whose face brings tension to your jaw. Now, instead of replaying the event, see them as a child. Not metaphorically, actually. Imagine them 5 years old, scared, insecure, hungry for love, longing to belong. Can you see that small child underneath the adult who failed you? Again, this doesn't excuse, but it reveals. It reveals that the cycle of pain did not begin with you, and it does not have to end with you. You can be the one who chooses differently, who breathes instead of breaks, who forgives, not to absolve, but to free yourself from the chain. Close your eyes again, breathe, and whisper even if you don't fully believe it yet. Just like me, this person wants to be happy. Just like me, they suffer. Just like me, they are learning. Just like me, they are human. Feel what shifts, even if it's small, even if it's just the tiniest crack of space inside your chest. That space is where peace begins. You were not made to carry bitterness. You were made to carry light. You were not made to rehearse revenge. You were made to rest in grace. You were not made to hold your breath. You were made to exhale. So rest now. Let the breath move. Let the seed be planted. Let it root in silence, in stillness, in you. And in time, may it bloom into something softer, wiser, and more spacious than anything resentment could ever offer. You deserve that freedom, not because they were right, but because you are ready to be free. Part 9. The Practice of Metta. Let us sit together now in the quiet center of the heart. No fixing, no solving, no chasing peace like it's somewhere far away. Just the breath, just the body, just the heart opening. You've carried pain. You've endured injustice. You've survived moments where kindness felt like a distant dream. But tonight, you're allowed to rest inside love. Not romantic love, not conditional love, but the love that asks nothing of you. The love that simply says, I see you and I wish you well. This is metta, loving kindness, a practice not of thinking, but of being. We begin with the self, because how can we offer warmth if we do not hold it within? So place your hand over your chest. Feel its rise and fall. This body, this heart, this history of yours. And gently whisper, out loud or within, may I be safe. May I be well. May I be free from suffering. May I live with ease. Repeat. Let the words linger. Let them soak into your skin like warm sun on cold stone. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free from suffering. May I live with ease. You are not asking for perfection, only presence, only space, only care. Now bring to mind someone you love, someone who warms your spirit, who accepts you as you are. See their face, their eyes, their kindness, and whisper, may you be safe. May you be well. May you be free from suffering. May you live with ease. Let it be real. Let it be felt. Let the heart bloom just a little wider. Next, invite in someone neutral, someone you pass in daily life. A neighbor, a clerk at the grocery store, a colleague you barely speak to. No strong emotions, just presence. Picture them, their humanity, their quiet life, and offer them the same blessing. May you be safe. May you be well. May you be free from suffering. May you live with ease. Notice what stirs. Notice how the circle of care expands without resistance. Now comes the hard one, the edge, the threshold. Bring to mind someone who has hurt you, someone whose actions created pain, whose words still echo. Let the image arise gently, not to relive the wound, but to witness the shared humanness beneath it. You are not excusing, you are choosing not to carry hate. So whisper, even if your voice shakes. May you be safe. May you be well. May you be free from suffering. May you live with ease. It's okay if it feels strange. It's okay if part of you resists. You are not forcing forgiveness. You are practicing freedom. Now, let go of individual faces. Imagine the world, spinning, glowing, alive with beings just like you. Some suffering, some joyful, some lost, some seeking. Wrap them all in a field of light, and let the heart say, may all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings live with ease. Let it rise from your breath, from your bones, from the place in you that remembers. We are not separate, not in pain, not in healing, not in love. Let's sit in silence now. Let the phrases dissolve. Let only the warmth remain. Let it hum behind your ribs like a soft chant. No need to try, just breathe. Breathe with the trees, with the stars, with every heart learning how to love again. When you are ready, bring your attention gently back. Feel the body, the breath, the room, and whisper one last time. May I be free. May I be at peace. May I meet this life with an open heart. You've planted seeds tonight, in silence, in stillness, in soil watered by suffering, but ready for compassion. Let them grow. Part 10. Right speech in unjust times. Words are powerful, sharp as knives, soft as breath, able to harm, able to heal. And when you've been treated unfairly, when your heart burns with the ache of being wronged, the urge to speak can feel overwhelming. To explain, to defend, to confront, to release the pressure building behind your ribs. Sometimes you want to scream. Sometimes you want to disappear. And sometimes you say things you don't truly mean, because the pain is speaking first. Zen teaches us this. Before you speak, pause. And ask, who is doing the talking? Is it your clarity or your wound? Your wisdom or your anger dressed up in armor? Because words spoken in haste have long echoes, and once released, they ripple into places you can no longer reach. There's an old story from the Buddha's time. A man came to the Buddha in rage, accusing him, insulting him. The Buddha listened, and then, calmly, he asked, if someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The man blinked, confused. To the one who offered it, I suppose. Exactly, said the Buddha. Then I do not accept your anger. This is right speech, not silence born from fear, but silence born from strength. Not words used as weapons, but words used as lanterns to light the way through darkness. Right speech doesn't mean being passive. It means being present. Choosing your words not to punish, but to preserve your peace. Not to control, but to connect. Not to win, but to walk away still whole. Let's explore what this looks like. Imagine. Someone speaks falsely about you. They twist your intentions. They make you small in the eyes of others. Your chest tightens, your breath shortens, your mind begins to build its case. Now pause. Feel that space between emotion and action. That space is where your power lives. You may choose to respond, but the response, if spoken from the still place within, will not be laced with poison. It will not rob you of your dignity. Here are some questions to ask before you speak. Is it true? Not just emotionally true, but factually. Is it necessary? Will it serve the moment or just stir more pain? Is it kind? Not sweet or soft, but rooted in integrity, clarity, and respect. These are not easy standards, but they are liberating. Because when your words align with your heart, you walk away clean, no matter what the other person does. Right speech isn't always about saying something. Sometimes it's about how you say it, the tone, the pace, the energy underneath. A quiet no can be more powerful than 1,000 shouts. A simple, "I see it differently," can hold more truth than any argument. A single breath before a reply can save you hours of regret. Let me offer you a gentle reflection now. Close your eyes, breathe in slowly, exhale gently, and recall a time when you spoke from your pain. What did it feel like in your body? What happened after? Now recall a time when you spoke from your center, from clarity, from love. What was different? Not in the outcome, but in you. Feel the contrast. Let it teach you. This is wisdom. This is the heart growing. You are not required to stay silent in the face of harm. But Zen asks this: what is your deepest intention? To be heard? To be understood? To protect? To retaliate? And what if, just for tonight, you set down the sword of speech and picked up the bell of listening? Not to surrender, but to understand. Not to become smaller, but to become still enough to choose your words like seeds, planting not conflict, but clarity. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, "I need space before I speak. I'm not ready to talk yet. I want to be honest, but I want to be kind too. I will respond when I feel clear." These are not escapes. They are boundaries with breath inside. They are acts of care for you and for the fragile web of connection we all share. Let us end this part not with more words, but with one breath. In, out, and a simple prayer. May my words be rooted in truth. May my voice carry peace. May I speak only when it brings more light than silence. You don't always have to explain. You don't always have to be understood. You only have to stay close to your own stillness. And when you do speak, let it be from the quiet place within, where the injustice cannot touch you anymore. Part 11. Holding Space for the Unfair. Not everything can be fixed. Not every wrong can be made right. Not every wound closes the way we want it to. But there is something even more powerful than fixing, than fighting, than forcing the world to be fair. It's this: the capacity to hold space for what hurts without letting it consume you. Holding space is not the same as being passive. It is not surrendering to injustice. It is not silence born of helplessness. It is presence. A presence so steady that even the storm cannot shake it. A presence that says, "This is painful. This is unfair. And still, I will not abandon myself in the middle of it." You've been here before. A moment when the unfairness was sharp, undeniable. Someone crossed a line, broke a promise, took something they had no right to. And everything in you wanted to act, to fix it, to cry out, to run away, to collapse. But in that moment, what if you had simply stayed? Not frozen, but aware. not numb, but present, not quieted by defeat, but deepened by attention. Zen asks us, can you stay with discomfort long enough to see it clearly? Can you become the mountain while the winds rage? Can you become the bowl that holds the heat without spilling? Can you remain without shrinking? This is holding space. It is not something you perform, it is something you practice. Let's do that now, together. Sit back. Let the body settle. Let the breath arrive. Think of something recent, a moment of unfairness that lingers. Not the biggest wound, just a stone in your shoe. Small but persistent. Feel what it brings up. Tightness in the belly, heat in the face, that familiar rise of, this isn't right. Now, don't push it away. Don't analyze. Don't solve. Just hold. Like a parent holds a crying child, not to silence them, but to make them feel safe. You're doing that now, for yourself, for the emotion, for the pain, for the part of you that wants to lash out or shut down. You are saying, I see you, and I will not leave. This is radical compassion. Holding space is not about controlling others. It is about not letting others control your inner world. Because when you can sit with discomfort without needing it to go away, you've already reclaimed your power. You are no longer reactive. You are responsive. You are no longer drowning. You are breathing, even underwater. There's a Zen story. A young student came to the master in tears. They insulted me, he said. They lied. They embarrassed me in front of everyone. The master said nothing, only pointed to a candle burning on the table. What do you see? He asked. The student blinked. A flame? No, said the master. What you see is the fire that does not burn the house, because it is held in the right vessel. Your stillness is that vessel. Your breath is that boundary. Your awareness is what keeps the flame from becoming wildfire. So tonight, as you lie here, soft and safe, know this. You are not required to fix everything, but you are capable of holding everything without being undone. Even the unfairness, especially the unfairness. Let's practice one more time. Bring to mind someone difficult, someone whose behavior feels wrong, grating, unjust. Now imagine them sitting across from you. You don't speak, you don't argue, you don't try to change them. You simply hold space. Not for them to be right, but for yourself to remain whole. Let them exist in the room. Let their energy move. And you stay still. You breathe. You remember. I don't need to join the storm to know who I am. Holding space is not passive. It is fierce. It is spiritual maturity. It is the choice to remain soft in a world that can be hard. To remain open when everything says to close. To remain here when escape is easier. And the more you practice, the more unshakable you become. So tonight, you don't have to win. You don't have to explain. You don't have to retaliate. You only have to stay. With the breath, with the silence, with the knowing. This is unfair, and I am still here. You are vast enough to hold it all. Let it move through you, not around you, not against you, through you, like wind through branches, like water through hands. Like life through breath. Rest now, dear one. Let the heart unclench. Let the mind soften. Let the body receive the truth. You are the space. You are the sky. You are not the storm. And nothing unfair can take that from you. Part 12. When karma remains invisible. You waited for justice, for an apology, for the scales to balance, for the universe to show it saw what happened to you. And yet, nothing. They moved on, unchanged, unbothered. They thrived, while you still carry the wound. And somewhere inside you, a whisper rises. Where is karma? You've heard the word before, thrown around like a threat, a joke, a mystical law of payback. As if the universe kept a scorecard, as if wrongs would be instantly repaid in ways you could witness, measure, celebrate. But karma, true karma, is rarely so loud, rarely so fast, rarely so satisfying to the ego. Karma is not revenge. Karma is not punishment. Karma is a movement, a rhythm, a mirror the world holds up to itself again and again, not to shame you, but to awaken you. It is not a courtroom. It is a garden. And what you plant, in word, in thought, in intention, you will meet again. Not always soon, not always clearly, but always, inevitably. You may not see the moment when the one who caused pain feels the weight of what they've done. You may never hear the words, "I was wrong." You may never get the closure you crave. But karma is not about their realization. It's about your release. Karma is not, "They'll get what they deserve." It's, "I will no longer carry what they gave me." It's, "I will meet this pain with clarity, so I do not pass it along." It's, "I will stop the cycle here, with me." This is radical. This is sacred. And this is freedom. Let me tell you a story. There was a man, gentle, wise, quiet. He worked in silence, loved without noise, gave more than he took. One day, someone lied about him, publicly, cruelly. He was fired, shamed, forgotten. Years passed. The one who harmed him rose higher and higher, richer, more admired, seemingly untouchable. And the man who was wronged simply kept walking his path. No bitterness, no drama, just presence. One day, the lie came to light. The truth, sharp, undeniable, surfaced. But by then, the man who was wronged was not seeking vindication. He had already forgiven. He had already healed. When asked how he felt, he simply said, "I let go long before they fell. That was my karma, and it was enough." Sometimes, karma shows up not in their downfall, but in your detachment, in your peace, in your growth, in the smile that returns to your face when you realize, "I no longer need them to feel what I felt, because I've finally let myself feel it and move through it." There's a quiet kind of justice that the world doesn't always see. It lives in the way you refuse to harden, in the way you keep loving, in the way you choose sleep over spite. Karma doesn't always knock on their door. Sometimes it knocks on yours and says, "You've done the work. Rest now. You are free." So let's come back to the breath. Gently, slowly. Inhale, exhale. Place your hand on your chest, not for drama, not for flair, but to feel what is real. The heartbeat, the warmth, the life that goes on, no matter who failed to see it, no matter who never answered for what they did. You're still here. And that, too, is karma. Here's what Zen whispers. You don't need to watch the seed grow to know it's been planted. You don't need to stand over the soil demanding fruit. You simply live well. Water what's good. Tend to your side of the path. And trust, deeply, silently, that every act of presence has its return, even if you don't see it, especially when you don't see it. So rest now. Release the scoreboard. Release the timeline. Release the fantasy of witnessing their reckoning as a form of healing. You are not their karmic enforcer. You are your own liberation, and you are already walking it with each breath, with each soft no, with each brave act of non-retaliation. Karma is not about what they get. It's about who you become. And tonight, you are becoming someone who no longer needs justice to feel whole. Someone who carries peace without needing permission. Someone who trusts that the unseen is always at work, quietly, patiently, perfectly. Part 13. The Noble Silence. You wanted to say something. You crafted the sentence in your mind, sharp, true, unignorable. They needed to know. They needed to feel what you felt. They needed to hear the truth, your truth. But then, something in you went quiet. Not because you gave up, not because you were afraid, but because you saw something deeper. The silence was louder than any reply. There is a kind of silence that is not suppression, but sovereignty. Not fear, but freedom. Zen calls this the noble silence. It is the space between provocation and response where dignity lives. It is the refusal to let someone else pull you out of yourself. It is the knowing that you don't need to be louder to be whole. You see, not all truth must be spoken. Not every injustice must be confronted with words. Sometimes the most powerful response is a deep breath and a gaze that says, "I am not where you left me." Think of the last time you stayed silent, not because you had nothing to say, but because you didn't want to be reduced. That silence was sacred. It wasn't passive. It wasn't weak. It was complete. It meant, I am not here to argue. I am not here to prove. I am not here to meet you in the dust when I have already risen above it. Let's practice now. Close your eyes. Take a breath. Imagine someone who recently hurt you. A comment, a betrayal, an accusation left unchallenged. Now feel the heat rise in your chest. The urge to explain, to correct, to set the record straight. Pause. Don't suppress it. Just notice it. And now ask, what if I said nothing? Not forever, not in resentment, but in deep, noble presence. What if my peace was louder than their noise? This isn't silence as avoidance. It's silence as clarity. It's the kind of stillness that knows truth doesn't require an audience to remain true. It's the kind of silence that doesn't seek applause, only alignment. You're not taking the high road out of pride. You're returning to yourself. And in that return, the desire to convince melts away. There's a Zen story. A young monk was accused of something he did not do. The abbot said nothing in his defense, not because he doubted the monk, but because he trusted the silence. Weeks passed. The truth came forward. The monk was cleared. The abbot simply bowed and said, "The wind moves the branches, but the tree remains still." You are that tree. You don't need to follow every gust. You don't need to speak into every wind. You can remain rooted, clear, silent, and let the noise pass through you like weather. Now return to your breath. Gently, fully. Inhale. Exhale. Let the silence surround you. Not emptiness, but presence without noise. Let the thoughts slow. Let the urge to respond soften. Let the heart beat quietly, with nothing to defend. The noble silence is not about disengagement. It's about depth. It is what happens when you realize your worth is not up for debate. You don't need to fight to be seen when you already see yourself. You don't need to explain to those committed to misunderstanding. You don't need to justify your peace to those who thrive on chaos. Tonight, may your silence be a sanctuary, a space of rest, a space of returning, a space where no accusation can enter, where no injustice can touch, where no noise can reach. This silence is your temple. Come home to it. Sit in it. Breathe in it. Let it say what words never could. Let's end tonight with one phrase, not to repeat, but to feel. I do not need to speak to be free. Let it settle. Let it soften. Let it guide you into the quiet center where everything is known and nothing needs to be said. Part 14. The ocean doesn't react. Someone says something sharp. You feel it, like a wave breaking against the shore of your ribs. You tense. You rise. You form words in your mouth you haven't yet spoken. This is the moment where everything wants to react. But what if you didn't? What if, instead of becoming the wave, you became the ocean? The ocean sees storms. The ocean knows tempests. Winds scream across its surface. Ships sink. Lightning strikes. And yet, the depths remain undisturbed, still, dark, vast, untouched. The surface may dance with violence, but beneath, there is peace that does not move. This is the way of Zen. You are not the splash of anger. You are not the gust of insult. You are the stillness underneath. And the practice is learning to return there again and again when life tries to drag you upward. Let's pause. Feel your breath. Notice your body, the space it takes up, the air around you. Now imagine, not with the mind, but with the whole being, that you are a vast body of water. Beneath your surface, stillness. Beneath your emotions, depth. Beneath your thoughts, expanse. Nothing anyone says can reach the deepest part of you unless you invite it there. You've been pulled by waves before. They said something unfair. You replied too quickly. They judged you. You flinched, collapsed, closed. They provoked. You reacted. And then, later, regret. Why? Because the wave felt like all of you, but it wasn't. It was only the surface. You don't need to suppress the wave. You don't need to fight the reaction. You only need to remember. You are more than it. You are the watcher, the witness, the water beneath. There's a Zen master who once said, "When insulted, I remain as the mountain. When praised, I remain as the mountain." It wasn't indifference. It was equanimity, a stability that doesn't rise and fall with other people's voices, a calm that does not depend on the weather of the world. Ask yourself now, what do I become when others are unfair? Do I shrink? Do I rage? Do I spill over? And what would happen if I simply stayed rooted? If I said to myself, yes, the storm is real, but so is the stillness beneath it. Let's try this together. Close your eyes. Let the breath lengthen. Now remember a time you were misjudged, misunderstood, dismissed. Feel it rise in you, the frustration, the sting, the desire to respond. Now breathe, deeper, slower, and see that emotion as a single wave on the surface of your ocean. Let it rise, let it fall, but you stay rooted in the depth, unmoved, unshaken, home. The ocean doesn't explain its stillness. It doesn't justify its quiet. It just is. And when you live from that place, you stop needing the world to be smooth in order to feel peace. You carry your calm with you, everywhere, in every room, in every injustice. Not because life became gentle, but because you did. This isn't weakness. This isn't giving up. This is power. The kind that doesn't shout. The kind that doesn't flinch. The kind that knows. I am not what they do to me. I am what I choose to hold within me. And tonight, you can choose stillness. Let's end with an image. You, standing on a quiet shore. The waves crash, but you are not the shore. You are the sea. Vast, soft, strong. And no storm can ever move your depths. Part 15. What if you deserved better? You did everything right. You showed up with honesty. You offered kindness. You kept your word. You gave more than was asked. And yet, they overlooked you. They dismissed you. They chose someone else. And now you're left with the ache of that sentence. I deserved better. Maybe you never said it out loud. Maybe it only echoed in your mind in the quietest hours. But it's there. That quiet heartbreak, that disbelief. How could they not see what you gave? How could they not value who you are? Zen meets this moment not by denying your pain, but by asking a gentle question. What is it you truly deserved? Recognition? Respect? Love? Fairness? Of course you did. But the world does not always offer what we deserve. It offers what it offers. And sometimes that offering does not reflect our worth, but our willingness to live without needing constant affirmation. Zen doesn't say you're wrong to want better. It simply says, don't confuse the world's treatment of you with the truth of who you are. Because what you deserve, in the language of the ego, is often a mirror of expectation. And expectation is the birthplace of suffering. There's a story. A monk tended to a garden for years. He watered, pruned, cared for each leaf with devotion. One season, a drought came. The flowers withered. No one came to help. No one noticed his work. He sat down in the dust and wept. Another monk found him there and asked, "Why do you cry?" "Because I deserved better," he said. The other monk replied, "Then let the earth teach you. Flowers do not bloom because they're deserved. They bloom because the conditions are right. What if it wasn't about what you deserved, but about what is? Not as punishment, not as judgment, but simply as life. Sometimes people won't see you, not because you lack value, but because they lack sight. Sometimes your offering will be rejected, not because it isn't sacred, but because it isn't understood. And your peace must not depend on being understood. So let's shift the question now. Instead of asking, why didn't they give me what I deserved? Try asking, can I live in a way that no longer needs proof? Proof of your worth, proof of your goodness, proof of your place in the world. You don't need proof. You need presence. You don't need to be chosen. You need to be centered. Let's sit with this now. Feel your breath. Let the body soften. Whisper to yourself gently, I may not have been seen, but I still exist. I may not have been valued, but I still have value. Let it land. Let it echo. Let it settle where the ache used to live. What you deserve has nothing to do with titles, praise, or applause. What you deserve is to be at peace. To wake up without carrying bitterness, to move through the world with open eyes and an open heart, to speak only when it brings truth, not proof. You are not small because someone else failed to meet you in your fullness. You are not invisible because they turned away. You are not less because you weren't chosen. You are you, and that is enough. Not in a slogan, but in your bones, in your breath, in the way you exhale tonight. Let me offer you one more image. A candle burns quietly in an empty room. No one is there to see it, no one to praise its flame, no one to feel its warmth. But still, it shines, because that is what it was made for. So too, you. You are not waiting to be lit. You are already burning. Not for applause, not for permission, not for proof, but simply because that is your nature. Tonight, may you let go of what you think you deserve and accept what already is. This breath, this body, this awareness. And from here, you begin again, lighter, wiser, freer. Part 16, The Art of Detachment. You waited for the apology, for the explanation, for the moment they'd finally say, you were right. But it never came. You kept checking the horizon. Nothing. And something in you stayed half open, half expecting, half hurting. And then you asked, how do I move on without getting what I needed? Zen answers gently, you detach. Detachment is not indifference. It is not cold. It is not numb. It is the quiet art of releasing your grip on what was never yours to control. You may never get the words. You may never get justice. You may never get closure the way you imagined it. But you can still have peace. Because peace is not what happens after the outcome. Peace is what happens when you stop tying your freedom to someone else's behavior. There's a tree on a cliffside. It grows sideways, against the wind, roots clenched in rock, branches twisted, never straight, never easy. It doesn't ask for the wind to change. It doesn't ask for the sun to be kinder. It simply grows. Anyway, this is detachment, the strength to continue without needing life to be gentle first. Let's pause. Let the breath come slowly. Let the body melt into the present. Place one hand on your heart, one on your belly. Whisper, I let go of needing the past to end a certain way. Again, I let go of needing the past to end a certain way. Breathe that in. Let it echo in the places where old stories still live. You're not giving up. You're giving yourself back. Back to this moment, this breath, this stillness. You're not abandoning hope. You're abandoning attachment to outcome. And that is where true power begins. Detachment says, I do not need the world to agree with me in order to rest. I do not need things to resolve in order to evolve. I do not need others to change for me to grow. It is the art of walking away, not from love, but from longing, not from care, but from control, not from effort, but from expectation. Think of something right now you've been holding too tightly. A conversation, a need to be seen, a wish for closure, a final word. Feel its shape in your body. Where does it live? Jaw, chest, belly. Now breathe into that place and say, I loosen my grip. Again, I loosen my grip. You don't have to drop it all at once. Just open your hand. Let it rest in the palm. Let it breathe. Let you breathe. There's a quote from Zen that says, let go or be dragged. Dragged by memory, dragged by resentment, dragged by what you cannot fix. But when you let go, you float. Not away from life, but toward your own center. You rise into the part of you that was never tied to their behavior in the first place. Let me offer you an image. A leaf floats down a stream. You see it. You follow it with your eyes. And then it turns a bend and disappears. You do not run after it. You do not shout its name. You simply return to the water in front of you, to the sound, to the light, to the next moment. This is detachment. Seeing, feeling, and releasing, without chasing. Tonight, let yourself be the one who no longer waits for closure from the outside world. Let yourself be the one who gives closure to yourself. Softly, lovingly, without condition. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started trusting. Trusting that life moves, that healing happens, that peace grows best in open hands. Breathe in, breathe out, and whisper, I trust the letting go. Again, I trust the letting go. One last time, I trust the letting go. Sleep now, not with clenched fists, but with open palms. You have done enough. You have tried enough. You have waited long enough. You don't need a perfect ending to begin a peaceful life. Let it go. Let it be. Let yourself be free. Part 17, Wise Boundaries. You forgave. You let go. You stopped waiting. But still, they came back with the same behavior, the same patterns, the same energy. And now you're asking a deeper question. How do I stay free while still being in the world? Zen doesn't ask you to isolate. It doesn't ask you to become untouchable. It asks you to become clear. Because compassion without clarity leads to burnout. Kindness without boundary becomes self-erasure, and silence without strength can turn into submission. So let's talk about boundaries, not as punishment, not as withdrawal, but as a sacred way of saying, this is where I end and the world begins. You are not obligated to absorb everything. You are not here to be endlessly patient with those who harm you repeatedly. You are allowed to say no and still be kind. You are allowed to say that's enough and still loving. You are allowed to walk away, not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring for yourself. There's a saying in Zen, a soft heart needs strong edges. Imagine a bowl. It holds water. It nourishes, but only because it has a rim. Without it, everything spills. You are that bowl. Your care has edges, and those edges are not selfish. They are sacred. Let's pause. Close your eyes if you like. Feel your body. Is there a place where you've said yes too often? A person who crosses your line again and again? A moment where you wanted to speak but stayed silent to keep the peace? Bring it to your mind, gently, without blame, without shame. And ask yourself, what is the boundary here? Not to control, but to protect presence. Not to reject, but to remain rooted. Sometimes a wise boundary sounds like, I need space before I can respond. I won't continue this conversation if I'm being disrespected. I am not available for that energy anymore. I care about you, and I will not abandon myself to stay connected. These are not walls, they are doors with locks you control. Boundaries are not about teaching others a lesson, they're about teaching yourself that you are worthy of peace. You don't need permission to step back. You don't need justification to say no. You don't need to wait for them to understand before you protect your center. Let's practice something now. Place your hand over your heart. Close your eyes. Breathe in. Breathe out. Whisper to yourself, "It is not unkind to protect my peace." Again, "It is not unkind to protect my peace." And once more, "It is not unkind to protect my peace." Let that live in your bones. Let it guide your steps. Let it be your quiet strength. The path of Zen is not about tolerance for harm. It's about being so grounded that your care has shape. It's about knowing that your energy is sacred, your time is finite, and your nervous system is not a battlefield. You were not born to manage everyone's emotions. You were born to walk with stillness, clarity, and quiet fire. So tonight, you are invited to draw a line, not in anger, but in wisdom, not to exile, but to honor space, not to protect yourself from love, but to protect the way you love. Boundaries do not make you cold, they make you real. And in that realness, others finally meet you as you are. Breathe in, breathe out, and whisper, "I can love you and still say no." Again, "I can care and still step away." And finally, "My peace matters too." Sleep tonight knowing you are held by the quiet strength of your own boundaries. You don't have to do it all. You don't have to carry it all. You don't have to say yes when your body is saying, "Please, not again." Rest now, guarded not by walls, but by self-respect. Part 18. Injustice as Teacher. It wasn't fair. You didn't deserve it, and yet it happened. They lied. They took. They misused your name, your time, your trust. And when it was over, or even while it still lingered, you asked the only question a heart in pain knows how to ask. Why? Some say it was karma. Some say it was random. Some say it's just how people are. But Zen invites a different possibility. What if this pain was a teacher? Not one you asked for, not one you liked, but one that taught you what no gentle lesson ever could. There are teachers we seek, books, mentors, wise voices, and then there are teachers we survive. Moments that strip us bare, people who expose our unhealed places, events that don't just challenge us, they change us. Not softly, but permanently. You may not thank the injustice, but you might learn from it. What did it teach you about your boundaries, your voice, your values, your attachments, your fears? What did it wake up in you that ease never could? There's a story in Zen. A monk was accused of fathering a child. He didn't protest. He simply said, "Is that so?" He raised the child with care. Years passed. The truth came to light. The accusation was false. They returned, apologetic. He only said, "Is that so?" The world watched, waiting for emotion. But the monk had already accepted. Life itself is the teacher. Fairness is not the syllabus. Presence is the path. You do not have to be grateful for the harm, but you are allowed to let it shape you without letting it define you. You are allowed to ask, "What did this teach me?" About what truly matters. Not because the pain was holy, but because you are. Let's practice now. Close your eyes. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe in. Breathe out. Bring to mind a moment of injustice. Not the biggest, just one that still stings. Now ask gently, what did this show me about where I abandon myself? Pause. What did it show me about how I want to live differently? Pause again. What did it reveal in me that now has a chance to grow? Let the answers rise, not from the mind, but from the quiet center within. You are not what happened to you. You are what you do with what happened to you. You are the alchemist, turning sorrow into seeing. You are the poet, writing softness into sharp stone. You are the one who decided, this will not close me. This will open me. Not all teachers are gentle. Not all lessons are easy. But every injustice carries a mirror. And in that mirror, you see your edges, your wounds, your patterns, and your power. Think now of someone you admire, not for what they gained, but for what they overcame. They too had a teacher, maybe betrayal, maybe illness, maybe loss, and they too could have hardened. But they chose to stay soft, to stay open, to stay present, not despite the injustice, but through it. You can too. Not all at once, not today, but breath by breath, moment by moment, choosing to see that life didn't break you, it revealed you. And what it revealed is still here, still alive, still healing, still shining beneath the scars. Let's close with this image. You are walking through a forest. It's dark. You trip on a root unseen. You fall. You bleed. Later, you pass that same path again. But this time, you carry a lantern. And when someone else begins to stumble, you reach out your hand. This is what your pain became. A light, a lesson, a quiet kind of wisdom only those who've fallen can truly carry. Part 19. Stories of the Masters. Sometimes we need stories, not explanations, not advice, just stories. Whispers from other lives, footsteps on a path older than memory. Proof that we are not the first to be misunderstood, betrayed, dismissed, and that we are not the first to remain still through the storm. Let me tell you about Ryakan, a Zen monk, a poet, a wanderer. He owned almost nothing, slept under trees, wrote verses on scraps of paper. One night, a thief broke into his hut, found it empty. Ryakan returned, saw the man, and said, "Oh, you came all this way. I wish I could give you something." Then he looked at the sky and whispered, "I hope he takes the moon with him." No anger, no blame, no punishment, just presence, and a deep knowing that nothing could be taken that truly mattered. Then there's the story of Bankei. He was teaching at a monastery when a young student was caught stealing. The other monks demanded punishment. They said, "Expel him, he's ruining everything." But Bankei said nothing. Soon after, the same student stole again. Now the monks were furious. Bankei stood in front of them and said, "You are all wise. You can go anywhere and be welcomed. But this boy, if I do not keep him here, who will?" The monks were stunned. Some left in protest. But the boy, he stayed. He cried. He learned. He never stole again. Not because he was punished, but because someone saw beyond his mistake. Sometimes what transforms a person is not judgment, but space. And then the famous story of Hakuin, a respected teacher, a man of deep silence and unwavering gaze. One day, a young woman in the village became pregnant. Fearing disgrace, she told her family, "The baby belongs to Hakuin." They were outraged, marched to the temple, threw accusations like fire. And Hakuin? He only said, "Is that so?" The baby was left in his care. He raised the child with tenderness, fed him, held him through long nights, smiled when no one else did. A year later, the girl confessed. She told the truth. It wasn't Hakuin's child. The family returned, apologetic, embarrassed. And Hakuin? Is that so? No anger, no pride, no revenge. Just breath, presence, the next moment. You might ask, how? How did they not defend themselves? How did they stay so calm? Zen never taught them to become doormats. It taught them to become oceans, deep, unshakable. Not because they didn't feel, but because they knew. Who they are is not defined by the stories others tell. You don't have to be a monk to live this way. You only have to pause before reacting, to choose clarity over impulse, to remember, you are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to walk in peace, even when no one joins you. Let me ask you now, who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when they misunderstand your silence? Who are you when the world tells a version of your story that isn't true? Can you too say, "Is that so?" and return to your tea, to your breath, to your stillness? These stories are not about perfection. They are about practice, about choosing again and again not to collapse into the noise, about holding yourself like Rokian held the moon, like Bankei held that boy's dignity, like Hakuin held the baby. Knowing truth needs no defense. So tonight, let these masters keep you company. Let them sit beside your memory. Let their silence soften your chest. Let their presence remind you, you are allowed to be steady. You are allowed to walk away from the courtroom in your mind. You are allowed to live your truth even when others misunderstand it, especially then. Part 20. Breathing through the unfair. You've listened, you've reflected, you've remembered. Now, it's time to breathe. Not think, not fix, not resist. Just breathe. Let's begin. Lie down if you can. Let your arms rest gently at your sides. Feel the weight of your body being held by the bed, by the earth, by the moment. You don't have to hold yourself anymore. Let the world hold you. Take a slow, deep breath in and a soft, gentle breath out. Again, inhale and exhale. Feel your chest rise like a wave and fall like the tide going home. Nothing forced, nothing rushed. Now, bring to mind something that felt unfair. Not the biggest thing, just something that still hums in the background of your life. A memory, a face, a moment. You don't need to relive it. Just see it, like a cloud drifting by. You are not the cloud. You are the sky. With your next breath in, whisper silently, "This happened." With your breath out, say, "And I survived." Again, breathe in, "This happened." Breathe out, "And I survived." Feel the strength of that. Feel the truth of it. You're still here, still breathing, still growing. Now, bring your awareness to your hands. What have your hands held? What have they let go of? What weight did they carry that was never yours? Breathe into your palms. Let them soften. Let them release what they were never meant to grasp. Imagine them opening. like lotus petals in morning light. Now your chest, this sacred center. How many words were buried here? How many wounds? How many times did you want to scream, "This isn't fair," but instead you smiled? Breathe into your heart. Let it expand like the horizon. Inhale and exhale. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to soften. You are allowed to stop carrying what hurt you. Now, imagine yourself standing in a stream. Clear, quiet water moving past you. Each breath is a ripple. Each exhale, a release. See the memory, the unfair moment, gently floating downstream. Not erased, just moving on. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to change it. Just let it flow. Say silently, "I don't need justice to be free." Breathe. "I don't need closure to find peace." Breathe. "I don't need to be understood to understand myself." Breathe. Now rest your attention on your whole body. Notice where there is tightness, tension, stories still clinging to your muscles. Breathe into that space. Invite it, lovingly, to soften. You don't need to force healing. Just allow space for it. Inhale, "I am here." Exhale, "That is enough." Inhale, "I release the need to be right." Exhale, "I choose the peace of being whole." Let every breath cradle you. Let every breath remind you. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not the story they told. You are not the injustice you faced. You are not the past you survived. You are this breath, this stillness, this gentle unfolding. Let go now. Not because the world is fair, but because your soul is ready to stop fighting. Let go, because what happened cannot hold you anymore. Only you can do that, and you are doing it now. Inhale, exhale. A little more free, a little more whole, a little more you. Tonight, as you drift into sleep, may these breaths stay with you, like silent companions walking you back to your own heart, where no injustice can reach, only peace, only breath, only now. Part 21. When speaking up meets stillness. There is a moment when the silence begins to ache. You've held your peace. You've breathed through the injustice. You've chosen compassion. But now, someone is being hurt. A boundary is being crossed. The silence is no longer stillness. It is fear, or guilt, or avoidance. And you wonder, if I speak, do I lose my Zen? No, true Zen was never about silence. It is about clarity. And sometimes clarity needs a voice. There is a myth that peace means passivity. But a pond is still because it is centered, not because it's afraid to ripple. And you are not a bystander to your life. You are its guardian, its witness, its protector. So how do we speak when injustice knocks on our door? How do we respond without becoming the fire? How do we set boundaries without building walls? How do we say no without saying I hate you? Let's begin, not with speech, but with silence. The kind that listens deeply. The kind that pauses before words, before reaction, before emotion hijacks the moment. This pause is your power. It is the difference between a weapon and a bridge. Imagine someone has just wronged you. Their words sting. Their action cuts. You feel the heat rising, the fists of your thoughts clenching. Pause. Don't suppress it, but don't serve it either. Just pause. And in that pause, ask, is what I'm about to say true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Not soft, but rooted in care. If the answer is yes, then speak. Speak clearly, without venom, without shaking, without needing to win. This is not easy. This is not quick, but it is powerful, and it takes practice. You don't need to wait until you're ready. You only need to begin with presence. There's a story of a monk who was insulted by a man in the marketplace. The monk stood still, listened, and when the man was finished, he said, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not take it, to whom does it belong?" The man blinked, fell silent. The monk had spoken, but not to hurt, to awaken. Your voice can do that too. It can draw a boundary without building a cage. It can name the truth without naming an enemy. It can say, "This is not okay," and still leave room for healing. Here's a practice for the next time you need to speak. Breathe. Before the first word, breathe slowly. Anchor yourself. Ground. Feel your feet. Speak from the belly, not the storm. Simplify. Speak only what is needed. Don't argue the past. Name the present. Close gently. End with space, not judgment. You don't need the last word. You need the last breath. You can say, "I feel hurt by what happened, and I need space." Or, "I understand your view, but I choose differently." Or even, "I'm not ready to talk about this now." Each of these is a full sentence, a full life. You don't owe performance. You owe truth. Remember, there's no enlightenment in allowing abuse, no awakening in erasing yourself. Zen is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of wisdom inside the storm. And when you speak, truly speak, you'll feel it. The body stays soft. The heart remains open. The voice does not tremble with hate. It simply rings with clarity, like a temple bell, firm, but never violent. So let's practice now. Close your eyes. Picture a moment when you wished you had said something. A moment where you betrayed your voice to keep the peace. Now imagine returning to that moment. Feel your breath. Feel your spine. Feel your worth. Now say, in your mind, "This matters to me. I deserve to be heard. I can speak with peace and still be powerful." Let those words echo. Let them become your rhythm. Let them become your truth. Tonight, if words are rising in your chest, don't swallow them, but don't rush them either. Let them simmer. Let them refine. Let them become medicine before they become sound. And when the moment comes, you will speak, not to fight, but to set free. Part 22. The River of Forgiveness. There is a wound you no longer wish to carry, a bitterness that no longer tastes like protection. You have held the pain. You have named it. You have breathed through it. And now, you are ready to let it go. Not because they asked, not because they changed, but because you have. Forgiveness in Zen is not a command. It is an unfolding, like the petals of a lotus rising through mud toward the light. It does not mean what happened was okay. It means what happened no longer defines who you are. Let's begin gently. Think of someone who has hurt you, a betrayal, a silence, a word that struck like thunder and still echoes. Do not dive into the pain. Just see them, as if from across a river. They are on one bank, you are on the other, and between you is the river of life, still flowing. This river has seen countless injustices. It has carried empires, tears, prayers, bones. It does not judge. It does not stop. It simply moves forward. You too are allowed to move. Now imagine you are holding a stone in your hand. This stone is heavy. You've carried it for years. It is the resentment, the anger, the silent scream. It has shaped you, defined your walk, bent your back. But now, you look at it differently. It is just a stone, and you no longer need to carry it. Step to the river's edge. The wind is soft. The trees whisper nothing. The water calls, not for revenge, but for release. You lift your hand. The stone is warm with memory, but you are not your memories. You open your palm and let it fall. It splashes, sinks, gone. No thunder, no applause, just peace. Forgiveness feels like that. Not loud, not sudden, just less weight, just more breath. And here's a secret the world doesn't tell you. You don't need their apology to be free. You don't need them to understand, to regret, to crawl back. You only need your own readiness to stop bleeding. The cut is real, but you don't have to keep scratching it open. Let it close. Let it scar. Let it become a soft place in your story. Zen teaches, anger is like grasping hot coal with the intent of throwing it at another. You are the one who gets burned. How long will you hold the fire? How long will you drink the poison, hoping they suffer? Forgiveness is not for them. It is your fire extinguisher, your medicine, your liberation. Now breathe. Place your hands on your heart. Whisper inward. I forgive. Not because they deserve it, but because I deserve peace. Say it again, even if your voice trembles. I forgive, because my soul is tired of carrying this pain. Let those words become your lullaby tonight. Here is a simple practice you can use whenever pain returns. See the wound. Name it. Don't deny it. Feel the emotion, but do not drown in it. Speak the release. I choose to let go, even if they never say sorry. Return to the present. Touch your breath, your body, your now. You are not what they did. You are what you do with what they did. And tonight, you chose peace. There may be days you remember, and the ache resurfaces. That's okay. Forgiveness is not a switch. It's a stream. Sometimes you must let the stone go again and again until the river finally carries it beyond your memory. Each time it gets easier. Each time you return more fully to yourself. You may never receive what you think you need from them, the truth, the tears, the justice. But what if? What if the universe has already given you something greater? The strength to stand, the wisdom to grow, the softness to love again, not despite what happened, but because of it. Tonight, as the stars return and the world grows quiet, sit by that river in your heart and let it flow. Let it carry what no longer serves you. Let it whisper, "You're free now." And listen, listen with every breath, because you are. Part 23. Lessons from the Bodhisattva of Injustice. There is a story, passed down in whispers, between monks and mountains, between women who carry silence like water, between men whose hearts cracked but never shattered. It is the story of the Bodhisattva of Injustice. Not many know her name. She is not often painted in temples, nor called upon in chants. But when injustice breaks the heart of a human being, when betrayal or cruelty seems unbearable, when the world turns its back and says, "This is how it is," that's when she comes. They say she does not arrive in golden robes. She wears the colors of dusk, deep blues, as if the sky itself were bruised. She does not walk on lotus petals. She walks barefoot on the cracked earth of suffering. And when she comes, she carries no sword, no scales, no scroll of law, only a mirror. One day, a man sat beneath a tree. He had been humiliated at court, stripped of his title, his name, his right to speak. He shouted to the heavens, "Where is justice? Where is the karma you speak of? Why do the wicked flourish while the honest are cast aside?" He waited for thunder, for a sign, for fire to fall from the sky. But instead, the Bodhisattva came. She said nothing at first. She simply placed the mirror in front of him. In it, he did not see his face. He saw the anger that gripped him, the story he kept repeating, the image of his enemy, the wound he refused to let close. He looked longer, and then he saw something else. He saw a small light flickering beneath the ashes. It was his stillness, unburned, unmoved, unbroken. The Bodhisattva finally spoke. "You want justice," she said, "but what you seek is balance in an unbalanced world." He replied, "But isn't that fair?" She smiled. "The world was never meant to be fair. It was meant to be your teacher." She sat beside him. The wind did not move her robes. The leaves did not fall in her presence. She said, "Some will wrong you and never realize. Some will rise by stepping on your back. Some will lie, and their lies will be believed. This is not your failure. This is samsara, the world of cycles, the theater of illusion. Your task," she said, "is not to make the world fair, but to walk through it with a heart so clear that injustice cannot cling to it." She taught him how to breathe when the court of public opinion turns cruel. She taught him how to sit still when the fire of rage wants to consume all things. She taught him how to bow, not to the wicked, but to the moment. For even this, too, is part of the path. He asked her, "Will karma punish those who hurt me?" She answered, "Karma is not punishment, it is reflection. Just as my mirror shows you your own suffering, so life will mirror theirs. But let that not be your concern. For every time you ask for their downfall, you tie your freedom to their fall. Is that what you want?" He shook his head. And so she stood, leaving the mirror behind. He asked, "Will I see you again?" She turned once and whispered, "Only when you need to remember that injustice cannot touch your essence." And then she was gone. That night, the man slept, not because the world had changed, but because he had. He no longer needed the apology. He no longer needed the reversal. He only needed his breath, his clarity, his path. You too can meet this bodhisattva, not in dreams, not in distant temples, but each time you place the mirror before you, each time you choose presence instead of poison, each time you remember That your value is not measured by how the world treats you, but by how you treat your own pain. Tonight, close your eyes. See the mirror. See what it shows you. Maybe the wound is still raw. Maybe the injustice still stings. But behind all that is your stillness. Let it rise. Let it speak. I am not what was done to me. I am what I choose next. And choose now to be free. Part 24. Walking through the fire without burning. The fire will come. Not once, not twice, but again and again. It will come as betrayal, as loss, as humiliation, as the slow ache of being unseen in a world that rewards noise. It will arrive just when you thought the storm had passed, in the voice of someone you trusted, in the silence of those who watched and said nothing. And still, you will walk through it, not because you must, but because you can. Zen never promised that life would be without fire. Zen teaches that you can learn to walk through it without becoming its fuel. Imagine a monk moving through a burning village. Flames on every side, screams in the distance, ash falling like snow. And yet, he walks slowly, barefoot, unrushed. He carries no water, no shield, only breath, only presence. He steps with attention, so each footfall touches earth like a prayer. He is not trying to escape. He is not consumed with rage. He is not yelling, "Why me?" or "This isn't fair." He simply walks, aware of the fire, but not giving it his fear. How? How can we do this in our own lives? When a coworker slanders us, when a family member betrays us, when society refuses to see our worth, how do we keep walking without catching flame? It begins with this truth. You are not the fire. What happened to you, the injustice, the cruelty, the lie, is not who you are. It is something you walked through, not something you are. Second, do not feed the fire. Every time you replay the story, the anger, the fantasy of revenge, you are giving it oxygen. You are making it grow inside your own chest. The fire may burn your surroundings, but only you can bring it into your heart. Choose not to. Let it pass. Let it burn outside you, not within. Third, return to the breath. When injustice happens, we go into the head. We calculate, we plan, we relive. But the breath, it brings you back to the moment. And this moment, right now, has no fire in it. Just air, just space, just peace. Fourth, drop the armor. When we are wronged, we harden. We become sarcasm, coldness, withdrawal. But armor traps heat. It suffocates. True Zen is not the absence of vulnerability. It is the full acceptance of it. You walk through the fire not as steel, but as water, fluid, cool, unafraid of flame, because you do not hold form. There is a saying, softness is stronger than hardness. A stone cracks in heat, water evaporates, but always returns. Be water. Flow through the fire, through the misunderstanding, through the false accusation. Do not stop to argue with it. Do not prove your innocence to those committed to your guilt. Just walk. Fifth, let silence be your shield. There are moments when words become gasoline, when defending yourself only deepens the wound. In those moments, withdraw, not in defeat, but in discipline. Let your stillness speak louder than your retaliation. Let your calm disorient the storm. Sixth, know when to rest. Walking through fire is not the same as denial. It is not ignoring the pain. It is feeling it without flinching. But even monks sit down. Even bodhisattvas bow. You too must rest. Cry if needed. Sleep deeply. Let your body remember what safety feels like, because that too is part of the walk. Finally, let your story become ash. You do not need to tell it forever. You do not need to rehearse it nightly. Let it fall away. Let it burn into something small and gray and light enough to blow away on the next wind. You are not your story. You are the space that holds it and then releases it. The fire will come again, perhaps tomorrow, perhaps in a year, but you will know now how to walk, how to breathe, how to soften. You will remember that you are not here to win the world's fairness. You are here to burn away what is false and walk forward as what is true. Tonight, as you lie in bed, imagine the fires you have walked through, not with fear, but with awe. Look what you survived. Look what you did not become. Feel the cool breath in your lungs. Feel the ground beneath your spine. You are still here, not burned, but refined. Part 25. The Final Bell, Becoming the Calm Amidst the Chaos. The bell rings, but not from a monastery, not from a mountain, not from a temple carved into stone. It rings from within you, soft, low, clear, and with it, a silence settles. A peace you did not expect, a stillness not born from perfect circumstances, but from perfect presence. You've come far, through betrayal, through misunderstanding, through the ache of unfairness that no apology could fix. And now you arrive here, not as a victim, not as a warrior, but as the bell itself, ringing softly in the center of the storm. You were told peace was a destination, a quiet cabin, a remote village, a friend who never hurt you, a life without error. But Zen whispers a different truth. Peace is not where you go, it's how you go. Think of the old Zen masters. They sat not because life was kind, but because it was not. They brewed tea while dynasties crumbled. They taught silence while armies marched. They kept sweeping the floor, even as their own breath became shallow. Because peace was not their escape, it was their way. You too can live like this, not because the world is fair, not because others change, but because you no longer need them to. You have seen that the noise outside only penetrates if you leave the door open, that the fire inside only spreads if you feed it, that the story of me and what they did and how it should have gone is just a cloud passing through the open sky. What remains when you no longer chase fairness? When you no longer beg for validation? What remains when you stop proving yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you? Only the breath. Only this moment. Only the bell. The bell rings again, this time deeper, from your belly, from your bones. And you remember. You are not here to fix the world. You are here to know it fully, to bow to its imperfection and still choose peace. Let this be your vow, to remain kind when the world is cruel, to remain soft when life tries to harden you, to remain silent when noise would devour your peace, to remain you when everything else tries to make you forget. There is no enemy, only those who suffer, and forget they are suffering, and cause more suffering. You too have forgotten, but now you remember. So let go. Let go of needing the last word. Let go of waiting for justice to validate your worth. Let go of the hope that they will see one day. Let go and feel what opens up in that space. It is not emptiness, it is fullness. The fullness of a life that no longer needs to be fair in order to be free. The fullness of a self that no longer clings to name, to role, to grievance. The fullness of the bell that rings only once but forever. Now close your eyes. You've listened long enough. Let this be your final lesson. You are not the thoughts that ache. You are not the memories that burn. You are not even the name they gave you. You are this breath, this moment, this awareness, pure, unafraid, unmoved. Let the injustice dissolve. Let the karma work itself out. Let the river carry what you no longer need to hold. Let the bell ring you back to yourself. Sleep now, not as someone who needs to escape, but as someone who has arrived. You are home, here, now, whole, and the bell has rung.